Hey guys, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy the Comics Guy, and this is episode 263 of the podcast. We are now in season 6 of doing everything, and for those of you watching over on YouTube, I am entering my 6th year of doing podcasts. The start of this year is going to kind of restructure things a little bit. My work schedule in the first half of the year, I used to work kind of all over the place, shift work. And so I had certain days during the week off, and I was doing less at work. So, I had more time to do things. Now, I work a more Monday through Thursday schedule. It's days only, and I'm busy through those whole days. And then when I'm home, I'm busy helping out with the family and my son and stuff. So we're restructuring things when I record. Now I will be recording, or trying to record on Fridays or on the weekends, and then releasing the podcast either Monday or Tuesday. I think that's what I want to do now. So we'll see if I can still get it on the weekends. We're still trying things, but if it gets too hard, then we'll try recording over the weekend and then moving things into Monday, Tuesday territory when new episodes come out. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. And although I do comic book reviews, I'm not dependent on new releases. I go back and read older stories or new to Marvel Unlimited, the Marvel Unlimited app. And so we're not going to have issues like waiting for the new books to come out and then reviewing them a week later. This also gives you guys, the readers, more time to actually read these books if you haven't already read them, or it gives people a chance to have read them since they are older stories. I'm reviewing books that at their newest are still 6 months ago, so half a year ago. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. And like I said, it's not a definite thing right now. We're still going to try to get the show out on Thursday, Friday, but if I have to move things to Monday, Tuesday, then that's what I have to do. Hey RJ, he's trying to touch the microphone because he likes the mic. All right, guys. Anyway, let's get into the comic book I wanted to talk about this week, and that's the Infinity crossover event with Marvel Universe, or Marvel Comics. And the whole reason why is because it's in the way. I have to get to this. I like I've mentioned before, I'm reading Jonathan Hickman's Avenger run all the way up to Secret Wars. I've learned I probably should be reading Fantastic Four too, and his run on that, to get a better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. But we're here now. So we're just going to read that leading up to Civil War, or Secret Wars. So many different types of wars. And then maybe I'll go back and read Fantastic Four run leading up to Secret Wars. And, it'll all make sense to me. But with Infinity, which of course by Jonathan Hickman, art was by Dustin Weaver, and also Jim Chung, if I'm saying that right. I have my notes, but I never can read my handwriting when I do my notes. So I apologize for that. And with Infinity, with a lot of crossover events, you get multiple storylines. And what I always find difficult with trying to keep up with these storylines is it's probably best if you were reading the books that all kind of cross over into this. Like I said, Fantastic Four, Avengers, I think Avengers World, maybe New Avengers. I can't remember. There's just tons of different things that are happening that tie into this book that I probably should have been reading to get the whole story. Now, I read the Avengers run that ties in with this already, so I kind of already knew what was going on coming into this story. But still, there's like 3 different parts. You have Thanos that's coming to Earth. Spoiler alerts, it's so that he can kill his son, which I didn't even know he had a son. And I mean, there's tons of questions that I have regarding his son, because his son, which you also find out, is an Inhuman. And what does that mean? He had sex with an Inhuman person? Actually, no. It says, where did I read that? I have it down here. So basically, some Inhumans came across Thanos, and as far as I can tell from the little information that Marvel Comics and their wikis give you, he raped someone to get his son. And now I guess he's had multiple children, and he's trying to kill them all. And so that's kind of why everything's happening in Infinity, or this is why things that are happening on Earth are happening in Infinity, is because of Thanos. Also, you have the whole Inhuman storyline that is connecting into this and will branch off from this, with the Terrigen bomb and all that. You have the Avengers doing their space stuff and coming back from their space stuff. And bonus content, sorry, I had to look at that. Bonus content, you get a little bit of the Illuminati with who's all in it? Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Beast, Namor, and Doctor Strange, and kind of dealing with rogue planets or the incursions, whatever you want to call them, which do play a more prominent role as you get closer to Secret Wars. And so all this is going in, and honestly, if you don't know any of this going in, it gets kind of confusing because I feel like Infinity doesn't know or isn't telling one major story. It's telling three and a half, well, let's say 2.5, because the Inhumans kind of tie with Thanos a lot. 2.5 big stories that could be their own separate stories, but they're just tying them together for reasons, you know? And it kind of gets, like I said, for me, even though I read the Avengers stuff, it still kind of gets confusing just looking at Infinity alone. And I think that kind of took me out of it a little bit because while I was expecting a lot of the Avengers stuff and things happening in space, and I thought that was going to take a big part going into this series, it doesn't. Really, the major stakes on Earth are Thanos' reign and him coming, taking out most of the major cities and, you know, pockets of resistance. Like Wakanda's fighting back and some other, I think New York is fighting back too. Like they're doing well against Thanos because, you know, that's where all the heroes are. And so it just felt really, it felt like I was reading between two different stories, like two different comics, but they were just like a Marvel 2-in-1 almost. That's kind of what it felt like I was reading here with Infinity. Like I said, though, the Avengers, they're doing their thing during most of the story to the very end. You know, they're fighting their like unwinnable battle against the godlike builders, and things are going horribly for their army. Luckily, all the Avengers are protected by this new type of armor called Plot, and so they don't get killed at all. They just kind of like have really close calls and get captured, but never actually anyone of importance to Earth or the Avengers die because of it. Luckily, Captain America is there to teach them about guerrilla warfare because I guess in space they don't have gorillas. No, I don't know. That was a really bad joke. I'm sorry. And through that, they're able to turn the tides against the builders and win, which we've already kind of talked about in full. On Earth, like I said, Thanos and the Black Order come down to Earth. They're trying to find his son. They know he is in Attilan or somewhere with the Inhumans, and they go to convince Black Bolt, give me, either kill all your kids between the ages of 16 and like 25 or something like that, which would be around the age that his son is. And so, you know, just taking care of the problem without having to deal with it yourself, or give me what I'm here for, you know. Black Bolt says nothing because he can't talk. Because when he talks, things die. Because his voice is just that stinky or that loud. It's that loud. But he pretty much is giving them like the fuck you silent treatment. He then goes nuts. Like when basically it's either live or die. He goes nuts, blows up the entire Inhuman city, along with setting off the Terrigen bomb, which sends a cloud of Terrigen mist all across the world, turning anyone that has Inhuman genes into like full-blown Inhumans, whether they wanted to or not, which you kind of learn was his plan all along, and I feel like was the entire conclusion to Infinity all along. Like that was the whole point of Infinity, was to set up in Inhumanity and in the Inhumans being a much bigger role in Marvel Comics. And I feel like that had to do a lot with the TV stuff. They were really trying to push Inhumans versus the X-Men, which they didn't own at the time. And you know how that all went. So all this, all this really comes to the conclusion between Thanos and his son Thane. Thane, who is part Inhuman, gets his Inhuman powers, which basically turns him into a skinny Thanos 2.0, but he has really darker powers and really scarier powers, and he ends up having a choice. Either not use them and stick to his morals by not killing his father, or by going against everything that he believes, calling himself a healer, and doing something to end his father. And he chooses the latter. And it turns out it's something that's even worse than death that happens to Thanos. It's something called, like, living death, and it's kind of badass. He basically turns Thanos into this cool statue. And Tony Stark takes it because, that's what Stark does. He takes shiny things and uses them for nefarious but veiled under good deeds. I don't know. It's just really weird. But I'm dying. It's not a terrible story, honestly. I enjoyed Infinity. I enjoy reading about the characters, seeing them fight and argue, because that's kind of really all it ever is. And I feel like this is one of the few events that I've read with Marvel Comics where it's not heroes fighting heroes, and that is a huge relief because I'm tired of, heroes have to fight heroes all the time, because it's just, we're done fighting villains. We've killed all the bad guys. Well, they haven't really, because they're all still around. That's the cinematic universe that kills all the bad guys. But, like, that's all I've read is heroes fighting heroes, except for Spider-Verse, but Civil War 2, Secret Wars, and Original Sin was kind of the same thing. Secret Empire was slightly the same thing. I mean, Captain America was involved, but he was technically evil, but he was not evil. All that kind of weird shit that was going on. But, so getting a chance to read Infinity, where it's like there's an easy to identify bad people side and an easy to identify good people side, and there's no question on whose side. Hey, all the heroes are on the hero side, all the villains are on the villain side, and I enjoyed that about that story. Also, the artwork's really good on it. I really like that. Anytime you have clean, crisp artwork, I'm happy. They don't do anything really crazy, and I didn't see anything that was just like reading through the comic, which I really love and really enjoy about that. As far as rating goes for it, I'll give it a positive charge. I do recommend, though, going into this, be familiar with what's going on with the Avengers, with the Fantastic Four, with the maybe not so much the Fantastic Four, but the Illuminati, and you'll kind of have a way better understanding of how this story layers on top of each other, because it's a little weird. But that's it for the review this week, guys. Definitely check out Infinity on the Marvel Unlimited app, unless you have the book yourself or want to pick up the trade. I'm not sponsored by Marvel Unlimited. I just really, really like the service. It's great to go back and read a bunch of comics. Currently, I'm saving the books that I want to read to my library so I can go back, start with the first issue, and just work my way up. And it's been really fun. Really, just as a completionist, it makes me happy to be able to read full runs. And so I like the app for that. So maybe you guys would too. Also, like I said, it saves money. Instead of having to spend $4 an issue, I just spend $10 a month, and I read as many comics that I want. And so it's been really great, really awesome, especially since now I'm finally at that place where all the books that I was reading and spending money on are now, their new ones are coming up on the app. Are new for me, they're caught up to me. And so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, there we go. Anyway, guys, we're done here on YouTube. But now if you want to continue over for Nifty Nerd News, head over to Bry-Fy-podcast.podbean.com, or you can check me out on Stitcher, not SoundCloud, and I always want to say SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, Google Play, basically any podcatcher app you can find my pod on. So definitely go check me out there so we can continue the rest of the show. But that's it. I'll see you guys later on YouTube. Now for the Nifty Nerd News.